Hey everyone, it's Melanie from MelanieKHam.com and welcome to the first video of the Learn to Sew series. Brand new series that I am starting today and every Friday for the next I think 6 or 7 Fridays, we are going to be doing a Learn to Sew series. We've done a lot of sewing videos, but I've never really taken it down to the basics, back to where if you have never sewn before, you don't have a sewing machine, or you have a sewing machine but it's in the box, you've never actually been brave enough to take it out of the box and figure out how to use it, that is what this series is going to be for. Of course, once we get into the actual tutorials that we're going to do, any sort of basic or beginner sewer or sewer in general is going to find value and use for those videos, but I'm going to be talking to you like you know nothing. And to help get you started with this, my friends at Clover have sent me several packs of beginner basic sewing supplies to give away to you guys. So because this video is going to be evergreen, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. You can see the description box down below and see if the giveaway is still open and how you can enter that. But I've got 7 different winners that we're going to have and lots of prizes to give away. So check that out down below. Moral of the story is we're going to be using very basic supplies, and we're going to be learning things like mitering corners, gathering, a zipper, straight seams, using interfacing, cutting your fabric, all that good stuff. Okay, a couple more housekeeping things just to kind of tell you what we're going to be doing. If you do not have a sewing machine and you want to learn a little bit about getting a sewing machine before we get started next week, stay till the end of this video. I'm going to go over sewing machine stuff really quick. But a couple more things that I wanted to point out is signing up for the email list. So if you would like to be notified every time a new beginner sewing project comes out, check out down below the email list. I'm also going to have kind of some special emails, tips, tricks, things that are going to go out just for you guys who want to be a part of that. I also am going to have an ebook that you can get if you would like to, that will have everything in PDF format. So if you're on the email list, you'll be the first one to know when that is ready for you guys. Okay, so supplies. What do you need for this series? The first thing that you need is a sewing machine. So here are some of my things. I'm going to put some of my past resources in the description box below. I've done a blog post on the best sewing machine for beginners, and there's some resources down there if you are searching for a machine, you are looking for one, you do not have one. The first thing I want you to know about looking for a sewing machine is try not to get too hung up on this. I mean, look at the reviews, do your research, but I don't want you to be frozen in indecision and have that keep you from learning how to sew. I will have links down below for some of my favorites that you can get on Amazon. I also really love encouraging people to shop at a local store. So you get really great customer service and you know where to take your machine to get it serviced once a year like you're supposed to if you have a local sewing machine dealer that you work with. There are lots of great brands out there. I use Juki. I love Juki machines, but Janome is good. Baby Lock is good. Bernina. There's a lot of really great machines. And if some of those are out of your price range and you want to grab a really basic machine at your local big box store, that is totally okay. It will be okay. If you want to buy a used machine on Craigslist, that is also a great option. That can be a very affordable way to get a nice sewing machine. They last forever, especially some of the ones that were made 30, 40 years ago. So that's okay too. To get started with this series though, you need to make sure it's in good working order. So make sure you have it serviced if you buy it used. Make sure you have bobbins. So each machine is going to have these little bobbins. Some of them are plastic, some of them are metal, that go in the bottom of your sewing machine to help make your stitch, right? So we're going to go over that next week, but you need to have a couple of these before we can get started. Make sure you have a few extras. You need some needles. We're going to be using mostly cotton and natural kind of fibers, linen, cotton blends, things like that for most of these projects. So you need a 90-12, a 90-14, or an 80-12 needle. You also should have a zipper foot. That's what mine looks like, the zipper foot for your machine, but that is going to be one of the later projects, so you do not need those for several weeks. You need a rotary cutter. I'm going to teach you how to cut all of your fabric with a rotary cutter. If you are going to be sewing apparel, and that's kind of the realm you want to go into, you want a good pair of fabric scissors, like a pair of shears. I am more of a craft sewer quilter, so The rotary cutter is my favorite way of cutting fabric. They're pretty affordable, so I recommend these. The self-healing mat that goes with the rotary cutter. A pair of fabric scissors like these. They have them in all different price ranges, just a good solid pair of fabric scissors. Don't let your kids cut your paper with it. We want to keep it nice for fabric. Tape measure, pins and a pin cushion is helpful, or put a magnet in the bottom of a bowl and you can use that as a pin cushion. That's a great way to use some dollar store stuff. I like to use the clover clips. These are also very affordable and I feel like a must-have. You also need a seam ripper. I know everyone's like, oh no, a seam ripper, but you gotta have one. I still rip seams out all the time. You need a fabric marking tool. So this is a water-soluble one, so a little spritz of water, it comes right out. There are several different ones that you can find. I will have them all linked in my Amazon shop as well as down below and on the blog post. I will have all of these supplies linked for you to find them really, really easily. But you wanna have a marking tool that you can erase. We are gonna need a seam gauge. So a seam gauge basically is a measuring tool that allows you to roll your hems over so that you have the same size hem all the way around your project. You need some thread. I will have a list of thread, another blog post that I did on the threads that I like. Some of this is gonna be trial and error on what your sewing machine likes. Some sewing machines, this is Aurifil thread, which is my personal favorite. Some sewing machines though don't like Aurifil thread. Aurifil, Wonderfil, I think it is, Superior Threads, Sulky. Having good thread can eliminate several of those troubleshooting things that happen when you're sewing and you have a stitch that gets messed up. Sometimes it's because the thread is not very good. Just let's eliminate any of those problems by getting a nice low lint, high quality thread. Same thing with your needles too, by the way. Make sure you have several on hand so that you can always have a fresh needle. That's one of the biggest things people miss when they are learning how to sew or learning how to quilt. They do not change their needle out often enough and it can create a world of problems. You also need a 6x24" ruler. That is my favorite. I will have a Fiskars one and my favorite Creative Grids one linked. There's different price ranges. Okay, so I know this kind of sounds like a lot. It's like a sewing machine and all these supplies and stuff like that. I don't want pricing to inhibit you. We're gonna give away a bunch of stuff from my friends at Clover. And you can find all this stuff like at Joann Fabrics, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Amazon for really good prices. You really don't have to spend a ton of money and you don't have to get the nicest, most magical, awesome thing. Okay, to start with the basics, I'm gonna walk you through them. I'm gonna only be using the basics, okay? I'm pulling out my basic machine, all my basic stuff. I'm not gonna be using any tools that you won't also have based on this list. So we're gonna do it together. It's gonna be okay. I know what it feels like to not know anything and to feel really frustrated and unsure about kind of launching into this new thing. You don't wanna waste your money. You don't wanna waste your time. I got you. If you do need to buy a sewing machine, I will have some linked down below. A couple of the features that I want you to have. You need to have a zigzag stitch. You need to have a straight stitch. As long as those 2 stitches are what you have, you're good to go. That's pretty much really all you need to learn how to sew, for reals. You know, I will tell you best practices. I will tell you my recommendations. My recommendation is to buy a sewing machine from a local store that you can have some help. But, you know, that might not be possible and that's okay. We want this to be as inclusive as possible. The whole point is to have fun, to enjoy, to learn a new skill. There is no sewing police here. So anyway, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Who's excited? If you're excited, give this video a thumbs up, okay? All right, thanks for watching Learn to Sew video 1. And yeah, see you in the next video, guys. Bye.